in, brought those over to the lake, put those in some enclosures. They survived, they multiplied, they grew. We moved those into some other areas and trying to kind of create a nursery about like what you have in your greenhouse on the lake. Those were growing and developing, and the big push that we talk about genes occurred as well, which ironically, I designed that pond for the landowner before I worked for the state.
Did you really?
So,
that's quite the place.
But anyway, it's these things were developing, and then we had the winter of 2010, it crashed, and very little salvia. But since that point, we've continued to introduce weevils. This year, I don't have the numbers on it, but I'm pretty sure it's over 100,000 that we've added this year. To date, it's well over 2 million weevils have been introduced to the lake. Okay, since 2007, annual stockings every year, with maybe the exception of 2010.
The Bistineau?
Yes, Bistineau. So to date, we've done quite a bit with weevils, but we have not actually seen any practical results in the field with it. The best I can say is we have a 20 by 20 enclosure that we were developing with it. After 6 to 8 months, it changed in consistency from tertiary mature plants to turned over to primary stage plants. But within a few weeks, it was completely covered again. Now, these sites have been closely monitored. To sum it up, we're on the forefront of an unknown deal here with this. Nobody has the answers on, did you put them out here in 30 yards apart? Did you put them all in one place? We don't know. And the results have not, in this latitude where we're at, we're on the extreme edge of the plant habitat, ability to survive, as well as the weevils. So we're in uncharted ground. Okay, so we try a lot of different things that we have. We put the weevils on the upper end of the lake and different places. We put them in real close spots like you have, where the timber's so thick and we don't spray in there, and we leave those. We put them in enclosures that are above the water and below, and flat enclosures, and we scattered them. And none of those has shown any really difference in the end results of them. And what we have is every year, you know, the winter comes along, plant densities decrease, but the weevil density decrease as well. And so that cold issue is what's limiting our ability. It has shown success in more southerly regions. Okay? This thing is, again, it's a tropical plant, tropical insect. We're not in the tropics, we're in a temperate region here. And so what happens even an hour or two south can be drastically different. The difference between Bistineau and Caddo, the leaves will fall off the cypress trees on Caddo a week, 2 weeks earlier than they do at Bistineau. These freeze events that we've had the last 2 years have been more significant on Caddo than they have been on Bistineau. There'll be more ice formed. Just, you know, I mean, think about how many times we get snowy weather that comes down and it seems to magically stop at I-20. It just happens to be a spot there. So all these things are going on. We don't have the answers to them, but we are working on them. We're working with Corps of Engineers in multiple research locations, and with LSU and LSU Ag Center locally doing some research, as well as they're supplying weevils. We have a supply. We introduce them. They're grown in greenhouses in Louisville, Texas for us. We introduced them early in the year with that same idea. But to explain it, you have, these things are like a predator-prey relationship, okay? In ecology, we talk about it. Let's imagine instead of salvinia and weevils, that we're talking about rabbits and foxes here, okay? So we have a brand new briar patch out here. Okay, we burned it. We clear cut it, we burned it, it's growing up in briar. 2 rabbits come along, they have a litter. A few months later, we have another litter. All of a sudden, we've got rabbits everywhere. Okay, they got all the food they can have. They're not hurting for food. They're not limiting their continued multiply. That's the salvinia. It gets in a new lake. There's no enemies there. Plenty of nitrogen. It's thriving. Okay. Well, then we introduce a predator. So to control the rabbits, we're going to bring in a fox here. Foxes don't reproduce as fast as rabbits do. It's going to take them a little longer. But anytime you have a spike, if you look at a population curve, if the prey species, the food, has to increase before the thing that eats it can increase, okay? We can't grow in numbers if we don't have anything to eat. The same thing happens. So the salvinia spikes and the weevil comes in behind it. So there's always this lag time that's existing. And what is happening with us is that we keep hitting roadblocks with winter, and temperatures that every time we think we're getting close to where levels may be catching up to get to that point, we have another event, and we have to start over again. And so it just hasn't developed for that.
Let's move on and then come back